Welcome in, everybody. Today we're doing something a little different. I'm going to show you how to make a build. I've made lots of builds, showing you guys lots of builds, and I've had several people, including my friend, shout out to my friend Julian. I should have listened to him way earlier. A lot of you have asked for how I adjust and how I think and how I make these builds, and really just the thinking and reasoning behind some of the choices and some of the perks and powers I've chosen, and then how I adjust in between rounds based off how much cash I have. So today we are going to do both. I'm going to show you how to make a build, and then I'm going to show you how to kind of test and adjust. First part of making a build, how do you pick your powers? First thing to know is that you want your powers to flow together. You want them to have some kind of working effect, chain effect, whatever you want to call it. They should all work together. Not hard to do. You should have an image of where the build's going, like Dynamite Ash is a good example, but you have the vision. You should make sure they flow. Second, your first power should be very good by itself. It should not rely on another perk, should not rely on another power. First round, it should be very valuable right out the gate. I made a build called Head Pop that I posted the other day, and it starts with Discord Inferno. This, when you critically hit a target that's discorded, their head explodes for 50 damage. Always valuable, always in play. A bad example would be something like starting with Double Trouble with Junkrat. Double Trouble, we gained one additional charge of Steel Trap. That's it. That's cool. That's really good second or third power, but right out the gate, we're only going to be trapping one extra person. We're not doing any extra damage. We're CCing one extra target every so often if they don't shoot it. And so this I would not start with. Something like Bango or Bingo, both great ones to start with. Both very strong by themselves. And like I said, we don't want them reliant on certain perks. Steel Trap is a great example because in order to get a lot of value out of our traps, we also need these Rat Pack and these ability perks, Lithium Alloy. Or we're not getting the full effect. We're not doing a true trap build, right? And first and second round, when we use those, if we use all our money on this and we have a little bit of survivability, because we're always going to slot that, I'll say that many times, but we're sitting at 5% ability power, so we're not going to be doing any extra damage. We're round 3, people are stacked up on whatever, and you're doing 5% extra damage. Not the best. Where if I started with Bango, right, and I build for attack speed first round, and then second round, I build for this, by the time I get to third round, and I do choose Double Trouble, which I might not, I might do Bingo first, but if I do this, now I have numbers stacked to make this valuable. So I try to make my first power not based around a certain perk or power. And then I try to make sure they all flow together. Most characters will do that pretty easily, but you'd be really surprised. We want to make sure that we have a vision. And with that, in terms of vision, we need to envision, this is part 2, we need to envision, are we doing attack power? Are we doing ability power? We have 3 tabs, weapon, ability, survival. We're always going to slot one armor slot. Unless you're playing tank and have armor already, sometimes that's a give. Always run survivability. I tend to choose this one all the way to late game. We slot survivability, we assess what tab we're going to be using. Some builds use a mix. Junkrat, I feel like, is a great character to use a little bit of attack power and a lot of ability, or vice versa. A lot of the times though, a Dynamite build will be an example we use this whole time. We're going to be focusing almost primarily on ability power. We're picking one. So you decide which tab we're going to use, right, based off the powers we've chosen. And sometimes they don't have to be directly coinciding, right? I think most of the builds that you guys will make will, but sometimes I've seen many Cassies run something like this, which is a combat roll build, but then they roll all, attack power, whatever it looks like, right? And so they don't always have to coincide. You don't always have to stack towards your powers. But again, we want a vision for our build, and we want it to all flow together. Another good example of that is Arissa's run something like this, and it's weapon power they're running, right? So the vision here is that we're going to be surviving using our power. We're not going to stack so much towards survivability, and we're going to juice up our attack vision. Now that you've decided whether you're doing weapon power or ability power, we are also going to consider if attack speed valuable here, or if cooldown reduction is valuable here. Lots of perks for that. Generally, I think attack speed's good when you're using weapon power, throwing a little bit in there, getting your weapon to shoot a little faster. And generally, I think cooldown reduction is good for ability power builds. Our overall goal, first, second, and third round, is really to get our numbers up as high as possible. Now that we've decided whether we're going to do weapon power or ability power, whether we're doing attack speed, cooldown reduction, we should look at character specific perks. Some are good, some are great, some are not so good out the gate. So you should look through. There's some really interesting ones. Like Junkrat has this cool one in survivability. This is a survivability perk, but I get 10% weapon power, 10% ability power, and I get more knockback from my concussion mine. It's awesome. So take a look at these perks. These are very powerful. But again, we need to balance that with raising this overall number here, whether it's ability power or weapon power, in combination to the perks that we're building, right? You can go too far one way and not provide value. Example, if I just cranked up my ability power on Juno, if I just cranked up my ability power and I was just doing missiles, I would not be utilizing some of these really, really effective missile perks, right? There's many. This one is super good. While aiming, pulsar torpedoes gain overhealth equal to 25% of your max shield. It's great. You got to balance them. If my number's too high here, I might be able to get some missiles off, but am I going to die? And so balancing character specific perks that might not raise your number quite as much in combination to getting our weapon power or our ability power up at the same time. I've yet to see a build that ran only character specific perks like this and do well. Almost ever. Orisa, that's it. I can't think of anyone else. Literally nobody. So you got to balance it. Part 3, testing and how we adjust. You got to ask yourself some questions. Question 1, am I dying too much? You can add mitigation, add survivability. No shame in it. No shame in adding 2 perks. Second question, did all my perks get used last round? I have a really classic example of this Junkrat perk I tried to run, where my projectile speed increases when I use my concussion mine. I wasn't using it very much, and it was throwing off my aim. I was lobbing sometimes when I shouldn't be. I was shooting straight when I shouldn't be. So I dropped it. A couple games I was like, I'm not going to use this. This is not getting value, right? That's one of the ways we adjust. Question 3, and this is a big one. Are they mitigating your build? I was making an Ash build video, and I was running weapon power. The Rhine was blocking my damage. I couldn't do weapon power, and so third round ran Dynamite. And I was able to shoot over the Rhine shield, and we ended up winning, where round 1 and 2 I was doing almost nothing. So are they mitigating your build? How do I adjust that? If they're cleansing your anti, if they're cleansing your fire, are they running healing reduction? Are you running healing reduction? Are they out healing you? These are ways we can adjust our build. So in summary, our first power is going to be strong alone without perks. Our powers are also going to flow together well and have a vision, right? We are going to look at our powers and then look at whether or not we're doing weapon power or ability power, and then consider attack speed and cooldown reduction while looking at character specific perks. Our ultimate goal is to get our number up here as high as possible while getting value out of any of these extra effects from character specific perks. Then you're going to ask yourself questions as you're playing. You're going to ask, am I dying too much? Do I need to add survivability? Are all my perks getting used? Should I be running heal reduction here if they're not healing that much? Should I be running the grenade launcher perk when I'm not hitting any of my shots? And third, are they mitigating your build? How can I adjust if they're countering me super hard? And that's build making 101. I've recorded this video 5 times, had audio issues, had tech issues. I've done multiple takes a day. I just got off work. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Thank you. I worked really hard on it. Any support is appreciated. Like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.